Hi guys, I'm Quifix and today we will see whether the iPhone 13 Pro is still worth buying right before the iPhone 14 will be released in September. So let's get started with the video. There are mainly three things that have been improved from the iPhone 12 to the iPhone 13 series. Those are the display, the camera and the battery. So why not start with the first one, being display. So the display has gotten many changes from the iPhone 12 Pro to the iPhone 13 Pro. Those being the 120Hz display that we'll touch later on, and the brightness. The screen has gotten brighter from last year to this year. It's a 1000 nits display, as last year it's a 6.7 OLED. Talking about the 120Hz refresh rate, it's an LTPO display. So what the display will be actually doing, it's dropping down the refresh rate when it doesn't need to ramp up to 120Hz. So let me explain. When, for example, you are scrolling through Safari, reading something on the internet, of course your experience needs to also be fluid, right? Because that's the time when you're actually going to notice the 120Hz. But when, for example, you're watching a movie that's made in 24 FPS, some tech guys have thought to just invent a technology that would slow down the refresh rate of the display to save mainly the battery life. So that's a really cool feature, it's really nice to have. Now the real question is, will you notice it? For me, I'm a tech savvy person, I can really notice it. I had on OnePlus 9 Pro, I was not able to get back to my iPhone 11 after using that. Still with this phone. One thing that I can assure you is that the iPhone is really optimized to ramp up to 120Hz when it needs to. As I had an Android phone, I could actually not be ensured that I will have a fluent experience in all the apps, okay? But with this phone, I'm sure of that. Overall, all lenses have been refreshed from last year to this year, but mainly we will focus about the aperture of them. So they've gotten basically larger so they can capture more light. That's not noticeable to me. This bigger aperture could be actually useful while having a low light situation to capture more light, as said before. The zoom lens has actually gotten a okay-ish upgrade. Last year it was a 2.5 zoom lens, this year it's a 3.0. You cannot really tell the difference, I mean you can, because you get a 15x softer zoom. It's basically as last year, but with two new software modifications. The cinematic mode as a video, it's basically a portrait mode but interpreted as a video. It works okay. The downside is that it only goes up to 1080p at 30 fps. You also get the option to control the bokeh effect after, so post. The other software change is the photos. That is the photographic style mode. So you get to adjust the tone and the warmth of the photo, so you get your perfect shot, let's say. You can choose between some predefined settings or you can just create your own. Now I will be telling you the two things that I find really annoying about this camera. When you digitally zoom to 50x, you're not ensured that it will actually use the zoom lens, so your photo will look like some colors put randomly. And that's a really downside because you have to restart the app every time and then it will work. Another downside that I found is while using the macro mode. So this phone has actually gotten a macro mode using the wide lens this year, but the photos don't quite look as good as the normal lens. So, I mean, while taking some macros, it's really good, but while going a bit further away, you may be wishing to use the normal lens since it can just do the right thing and the better photo. But no, Apple has not decided to put a button so you can choose between these two options. Annoying for me, since I had a phone that could actually switch between those, but yeah, if you've never had a phone with a macro mode, then I'm not sure you will have that problem. Just wanted to point that out. The battery is a lithium-ion battery that has 3095 mAh. It can easily get you throughout the day. So you will get from 6 to 7 hours of average use. So I mean browsing, watching videos or a bit of gaming. When you go and you use your phone to the max power, you will get around 5 hours of battery. So what I mean by if you really use your phone is that, for example, you go out, maps, full brightness and gaming. Everything else it's really fine because it has actually gotten a bigger chassis, so it can house a bigger battery than last year's model. Otherwise, let's first talk about the housing. This phone feels really cool, even though I have it in a case. I can actually tell that it's solid build, so I have no problems with that. The buttons are placed a bit lower than last year's model, so that they can be easier to reach. The performance is actually really good. As you can see right now, I've done 3 benchmarks. One done with the iPhone 7, one with the iPhone 11, and one with the iPhone 13. They're fine, they're on top of the line. I mean, the difference between the iPhone 11 and 13 is noticeable. I mean, from 600,000 points to 8,000, you won't notice a big difference right now, but as you will go further down the line, so in the future, maybe in the last years that this phone will have until it dies, because Apple won't be supporting it anymore, but we are talking about like 5 years, you'll be actually noticing that difference. To answer the question, is the iPhone 13 Pro still worth buying right now? If you really need a phone now, then yeah, go for it. I cannot tell you something else. The iPhone 14 is leaked to have a better camera, a hole punch instead of the notch. That has actually gotten smaller this year. That's up to you. If you can wait, I would consider actually waiting for the iPhone 14 to come out. So even if you don't like that phone, you'll be able to still grab this phone for a better price with a better deal, either on the refurbished market or on the normal market. Hope you liked the video and see you in the next one.